Your differences are not your deficiencies. Your differences are not your downfalls. Your differences are not your drawbacks. It's your differences that are going to allow you to make a difference in this world. Let's jump right into it. Let me tell you how my identity crisis literally made me the worst teacher in the building. Man, look at this picture right here. So, this was my first day teaching ever, and I was just super excited. You can see I took my picture in my staff shirt. I had my classroom set up. I had my desks in rows, like some decorations on the wall, and I was ready. But if I look back at this picture, there's just one thing I wish he knew, and I wish that that young man right there knew that this was literally about to be the worst year of his life, because my heart was so sold out for education. Like, I really wanted to come and make a difference. I really wanted to impact students. I really wanted to grow them, and I really wanted to change their lives. But all the data just showed that I sucked. The data showed that I was terrible. And I felt like I wasn't doing a good enough job. I knew that the way that the other teachers were looking at me, the way that my students were acting in the class, the way that my principal had to speak to me, I was ineffective. And it hurt so bad because all I wanted to do was be great. And the crazy thing is, I can remember sitting thinking about, like, why is this so hard? I remember being in school a couple of months ago. I remember getting an A in classroom management like a year ago. But now I'm actually in the classroom. I have students standing on desks, students throwing things at each other, at me. Comment down below if you think that your school adequately prepared you for education. Because honestly, I feel like mine didn't. And I was crushed. And here's the kicker. I remember one time in a staff meeting, when I was already feeling defeated, I felt like teachers talking about me like, oh man, Mr. Williams can't teach. I felt as if I was terrible. And then in a staff meeting one time, we had a culture in our school where the principal said that, data should be transparent. And he put a graph on the screen, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it may have been, referral data or something like that, something reflecting classroom management. And it had teachers' names on it, not blurred out, actual teachers' names. And the bar graph for my name was astronomically higher than everybody else. Like, I was referring kids at a higher rate. Students were getting in way more trouble in my class. And he showed that in front of the whole staff. And that's all I needed to know that I was terrible. That's all I needed to lose all of my confidence. That's all I needed to confirm all the self-doubt in my head that said this isn't for me. And I really thought that it was going to be it for me. I thought that I had to quit. I thought I had to leave. I thought that I couldn't make a difference. I'm a black male. And I was like, we need black males in education, but they need somebody else. Because the data was showing I was literally making them work. Like, I was teaching 7th grade math, and I had students coming in on the 5th grade level. And at the middle of the year assessment, they were on the 4th grade level. I'm like, what in the, there's literally doing no harm, no good, only harm to these students. But what I learned that shifted things for me, that changed things for me in my darkest moment, what I had to figure out was that the only way I can actually make a difference is if I could be bold, be true, and be who I was. And what I want to share with you today is how you can live in your uniqueness, how you can be bold, how you can be true, and how you can be you and be the difference that somebody needs to see. Because when I learned that, that's when things shifted for me. That's when I went to 2-time teacher of the year. That's when I went to my national award certification into instructional coach, to currently a school principal, where I use the systems that I'm going to show you in just a couple of minutes to have the most growth of the grade level in the whole entire school. And using those same systems now as an administrator on a school-wide level to triple the growth in just one school year. And I'm going to show you how you can live in your uniqueness, how you can be exactly who you are and still control your classroom, because all that you are is all that you need, and you are enough. I remember in my first year, what happened for me was I kept getting ridiculed. And I'm the type of person that when I see success in somebody else, I feel as if I were to kidnap those things, that I could then see success sooner, right? But kidnapping and adopting are two drastically different things. Like, somebody who kidnaps somebody is viewed as a felon, but somebody who adopts somebody is viewed as a hero. Side note, when I was making this presentation earlier, listen, if you ever Google kidnapping pictures, well, I was on Canva and I looked for pictures, I typed in the word kidnapping, never do that. I saw some things I can never unsee. Oh my goodness. The difference between kidnapping and adopting is that when you kidnap something, it still belongs to somebody else. But when you adopt something, you make it your own. And what I was doing is I was trying to kidnap other people's strategies. They'll come to me and they'll say, use a stronger teacher voice. They'll say, build relationships by eating lunch with the students, right? They would say that I had to do things specifically just the way that they used to do things. And for me, I would take it. I would kidnap it. I would apply it directly, like just how they wanted me to do it. That's exactly how I would then do it. And I would take pieces from here and I'll take pieces from there and I'll take pieces from here and pieces from there. And when I pieced all these things together, this is what I ended up looking like. And I was wondering why I was scaring my students away from success. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't take counsel from some other people. It's great to hear. It's great to listen. And it's great to take some things and make it our own and adopt some things. But if we just try to take exactly what we see somebody else use to be successful, it's not going to be the same in our classroom because we're all different. And our classrooms are going to look different. There's no one way to run a classroom, right? So they tell me that my voice wasn't strong enough to be a teacher voice. That doesn't mean I can't still communicate effectively with my students. They told me to build relationships by sitting with them at lunch. I'm building relationships. Honestly, I just like to eat lunch by myself in my classroom on my planning period. Right? That's just because you like to walk around with your chicken salad in the cafeteria talking to everybody. That's just not me. Just not what I wanted to do. Right? They said don't smile till after Christmas. I'm gonna smile. That's what I do. I'm gonna smile. Like Invisalign was way too expensive for me to not smile. I'm gonna smile, but students also know that these teeth can bite if they need to, right? So I can be exactly who I am, and my classroom can take the shape that I want it to take, but also I can control my classroom because of this, what I'm about to show you right here and right now. Did you know that we all have deoxyribonucleic acid? Or DNA. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you knew that. And I know when we think about DNA, we think about the fact that everybody has different DNA. That's not actually true. Not everybody has different DNA because within our bodies, we have 3 billion base pairs of DNA. Come on, I got some 7th grade science teachers and listening, right? We have 3 billion base pairs of DNA, but not all of that DNA is used to communicate with our genetic code. There are 2 different types of DNA. There's coding DNA and non-coding DNA. Non-coding DNA just exists so that we exist. But coding DNA is what goes forth to communicate with the genetic material. Come on, I did a little bit of research. And the genetic material then goes forth to create our traits of who we are. And as a matter of fact, all living organisms have DNA. And they all have coding DNA and non-coding DNA. And a lot of our non-coding DNA is the same. For example, at dogs, we have about 84% of the DNA that we share. Our non-coding DNA is the same as in dogs. Look at chimpanzees. About 96% of our DNA, of our non-coding DNA, is the same as in a chimpanzee. Our non-coding DNA just exists so that we exist. So when we look at other humans, out of all the 3 billion base pairs of DNA that's in our body, only 20,000 base pairs are coding DNA, which means just 20,000 base pairs is what differentiates us from every other human being. Just those 20,000 go forth to create our traits, which means that 99% of the DNA that's in our body is the same as everybody else. 99% of the DNA that's in our body is the same as everybody who ever lived. 99% of the DNA in our body is just what makes us a human. It's that 1% that makes us amazing. It's that 1% that makes us different. It's that 1% that is our amazing. And too often we're told that our 1% needs to be hidden. Too often it's our 1% that we think because it differentiates us, this is what I need to change about myself. But we need to do the exact opposite and own that 1%, to amplify that 1%, to live in that 1%. If you operate as if that 1% is your deficiency, you operate as if it is. If you treat your 1% as a deficiency, you operate as if it is. But if you treat your 1% as you're amazing, you'll operate with confidence. And I need some more teachers that are going to operate with confidence and saying, I can do this. I am enough. All that I am is all that I need. Exactly who you are is exactly who somebody else needs to see. And you can show up as your true 100% authentic self in your classroom. If you're goofy, be goofy. If you're corny, be corny. If you're cool, be cool. Whoever you are as a person, you can be that and lead your classroom effectively, as long as you look at some of the tools and use some of the systems that I'm going to show you in just a second. But your differences is exactly what somebody else needs to see. So now that you know that, what are we going to do about it? right? Knowing is not enough. And some of you are like, yeah, I already know I'm different. I already know that my students need me. That's how I build relationships. But for some reason, I'm always tasked to change. That was me. People were always trying to change me. And I couldn't stand that cookie cutter approach. There's no one way to effectively lead a classroom. But what I learned was that there are certain systems that you can implement that allow you to be who you are. So now that you have this awareness, let's put into action, because awareness without action is irrelevant, right? If you know it's raining outside, but you don't bring your umbrella, you're still going to get wet. So now that we have this awareness, let's put some action behind it. What I learned about myself during that summer was that I'm the type of person that needs to know a framework. And here I have a framework for you. And we're going to figure out how we can grow and see success in our students by focusing on these three things: goals, plan, and drive. I'm going to show you the system of the goals, plan, and drive. A lot of teachers have these things. Some have one of them. Tier 1 teachers, tier 2 teachers have two of them. But I'm going to show you something cool today. If you just have one of them, say you just have a goal, right? That's cool. Goals give you direction, right? But if you don't have a plan, you're not really going to see that progress. Or maybe somebody just has a plan. If they just have a plan, but they don't know where they're going, or they don't have the drive to implement the plan, it's just paperwork. But what happens when you have a drive, but you have no goals, no plan? You're just really excited, really motivated. That was me my first year. I had the drive. I had the heart. I wanted to teach my heart out. I wanted to be the best that I could be. But I wasn't being effective. I thought this is what I was called to do, but I wasn't making the difference or making an impact. But I would say that most teachers have a couple of them. For example, some teachers have both goals and a plan. But the teachers that have both a goal and a plan, I like to call those the thinkers. They sit back and they're really analytical. They think about a lot of things. They have the goal of where they want to achieve, and they have the plan to get there. The thing that they're missing, though, is the drive. They can't implement these things. They can't actually make change because they don't have that drive, that ambition within them. Okay, but what happens if you have the goals and you also have the drive, but you don't have a plan? Well, that's the person I just call a talker. They talk real big about the things that they're going to do. My class is going to achieve this year. We're going to do that. We're going to have 100% mastery. We're going to have 3 years worth of growth over the course of a year. Awesome. Great. They have goals. They have the drive, but they don't have a plan to get there. Without a plan, you're not going to arrive at where you intend to be. So I think you're just talking. You're just a talker. And then what happens if you have a plan and drive, but you don't have a goal? Well, then I'd like to call that person the treadmill, right? Because they have a plan, like we're going to do this. They have a drive. We have the ambition, but they don't have a goal. They don't know where they're trying to end up. This one is actually pretty scary and actually pretty common, because this teacher is going to see small pockets of success. So we're going to implement guided reading groups, right? I don't know why, but I'm going to implement these guided reading groups. This is my plan. I'm going to do guided reading groups 3 times a week. We do that. I have the drive. I have the plan, but I don't exactly know what I want students to get out of this. So now I have different pockets of success within the classroom, which I feel as if I'm doing a great thing, but we're not maximizing success because we don't have an overall goal of where we want our students to be. But what happens when we have a teacher that has goals, that has the plan to achieve the goals, that has the drive to make all those things happen? When this system completely works together, that's some transformation. That's some transformation when we have a teacher that has all 3 of those things. And I'm going to show you how you can have all 3 of those things. But first, I want you to comment down below. Which teacher do you think you are? Do you think you're just a thinker? You think you're just a talker? Do you think that you're on a treadmill, or are you actually truly transformational because you have the systems that are going to work to enforce your goals, your plan, and match that with your drive? I just want to let you know that when you have the goals, when you have a plan, and when you have drive, that's what's going to lead to transformation. And that is going to be the system that backs everything. It's going to back your classroom management. It's going to back your policies. It's going to back your academic growth. It's going to drive everything And I just want to let you know, we don't have time right now to completely dive into really deep, but I did create a whole course about a system that can actually help you achieve the classroom goals by implementing a plan, by giving you and students the drive. And it's called Actually Achieve Classroom Goals. And with it, we also have some resources. We have a workbook. There's some templates, some rewards ideas, a whole bunch of things in there. mypursuitofexcellence.com/courses. Check it out. I am going to give you a piece of it right now, but honestly, I can't dive into the whole entire thing, but it's a huge system that's going to help you, again, be the actual person that you are in the classroom, to be yourself, but still control your classroom, because you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So you can have goals, but if you don't have the system that's going to help you get there, it's not going to be, you're not going to maximize the growth that you want to. So here's the piece I want you to take away today. In order to be yourself in the classroom, to be whoever you are in the classroom and allow your differences to shine out, to live in your 1% amazing, you have to have clear expectations and consistent consequences. Clear expectations and consistent consequences. The reason why is because students only do what they're allowed to. Let that sink in for a second. There's always exceptions to the rule. I know, I get it. I know you're like, no, that's not true. Students do whatever they want. Listen, students only do what they're allowed to, because when the action is more rewarding than the consequence is irritating, it's worth taking the risk. Meaning, you're thinking, okay, so students come, we always tell them to take the hoods off, and they don't take the hoods up because the action is more rewarding than the consequence is irritating. Because they have the hood on because their head is cold. They're trying to cover their hair. They want to hide. Whatever it is, the reason that they have the hood on is a rewarding action for them to have the hood on. And then if the consequence is you telling them to take the hood off, it's not that irritating. Yeah, I'm going to take it off, but I'm going to walk down the hallway and put it back on. Why? Because the action is more rewarding to me. So students, what I mean by students only do what they're allowed to do is that when we set a clear expectation and have a system that allows students to support that, to not let them fall short of the expectation, then that is when we see the true transformation, right? I like to think about it by the fact that I used to like to drive fast. I say I used to because between the ages of about 18 and 24, I got almost $1,000 worth in speeding tickets. Because to me, the action of speeding was more rewarding than the irritating consequence of paying a ticket, until it no longer was. After I started seeing those tickets pile up, I was like, okay, I don't like paying tickets anymore, right? I haven't gotten a ticket since. I got one ticket since then. I was so mad. Oh my goodness. Last year, I shouldn't even got it. Between 18 and 24, I spent almost $1,000 in speeding tickets. After that, I stopped speeding because I no longer want to do this. So that's what I mean when I say that the action was more rewarding to me than the consequence was irritating. But when we have clear expectations and consistent consequences, when we have clear expectations and a supportive system, then it can allow you to be however you are, because the expectation is not going to change, and we're going to hold students to those expectations. So the difference between just having consequences and having consistent consequences, again, I can only think about an analogy of me in a vehicle, right? We went down to Florida not too long ago, and while we were in Florida, it's unfamiliar to me. In the GPS, I was just driving, and then we just started coming upon tolls on the Florida Turnpike. What is going on in Florida? People, let me know. Because where I lived in Charlotte at that time, a couple of years ago, we didn't have tolls like that. So my GPS settings were not to avoid tolls. So as I was driving, it said this toll is about to be $2.30. And I drove under this underpass looking thing, and then I saw a white flash, took a picture of the license plate. And I was like, oh my goodness. A couple miles later, same thing, $1.70. A couple miles later, same thing, $3.20. I was like, what in the world? And a couple of weeks later, sure enough, I got a toll bill in the mail amounting $30-something from that one trip. A couple of weeks ago, Thanksgiving, my family went down to Orlando. And guess what setting I adjusted in my GPS, right? I adjusted the setting that says avoid tolls, because I was like, I'd rather take the extra 15 minutes than pay the extra $35. Because in their system, the consequence is consistent. The expectations are clear. If you take this route, If you cross this line, it's going to cost you $2.30. The consequences are consistent. We're just going to flash a picture of your license plate. We'll catch you in the mail later. Clear expectations, consistent consequences forced me to change my actions. I said, I'm not going on that Florida Turnpike anymore. I'm taking the streets because I no longer want to deal with that. And it's those types of systems that when we can implement them with our students is what is going to help them to fall in line with the expectations. I'm going to give you an example of a tier consequence system, and you can look at this. You can use it if you want. You don't have to. Remember, I don't want you to kidnap anything. I want you to adopt something. What I want you to adopt is I want you to recognize that it's having a clear consequence, having clear expectations and a system that supports students to fall in line is what can allow you to be yourself in the classroom, right? You can be goofy if you have a clear consequence system, because students now feel supported. They know what the expectation is. They know that you care about them. They know what the expectation for greatness is. And they just, now you are having a system that then supports that. Right? And listen, if you want to be goofy, you can be goofy. And students aren't going to walk all over you because you have a system that matches the expectations. If you want to be a cool person, you just want to be laid back, you can be cool. And students are not going to disrespect you because you have a system that supports your expectations. If you want to be a cornball, students are going to sit in your corny class and deal with it because you have a system that supports your expectations. And I want to let you know that you can lean into those differences because your differences are not your deficiencies. Your differences are not your downfalls. Your differences are not your drawbacks. It's your differences that are going to allow you to make a difference in this world, to allow you to make a difference in your classroom, to allow you to be the difference that somebody else needs, because exactly who you are made to be is exactly who somebody needs to see.